On April 16, 2023, multiple officers with the Los Santos Police Department responded to reports of a suspect fleeing into an industrial scrapyard in South Los Santos. What began as a routine perimeter containment would quickly become one of the most unusual use of force incidents the department had ever recorded. To understand what happened in that scrapyard, we have to start earlier that afternoon, with the first contact between the suspect and the unfortunate officers on duty that day.
And I said, Clav getting frame mugged is worse than your problems, honey. Sir, I'ma need you to back up. Sir!
I'm going to kill you.
He's reaching!
The officer opened fire on the suspect after suspecting a weapon was being pulled due to the death threats that were made. The suspect then opened fire on two uniformed officers outside the Southeast Los Santos police station. Both officers were struck and pronounced deceased at the scene. Body camera footage shows multiple officers discharging their weapons at close range. The suspect appears to be hit several times. Investigators later reviewed the footage frame by frame. At the time of this recording, no clear explanation has been provided as to how the suspect remained mobile after absorbing what appears to be significant ballistic impact. The officer acted as if he had met the suspect before, and what is found later confirms the worst.
13, one up, 20 Queen Street. 20 Queen Street. The female on 13. So what's the location of that 13? What is the location? 6 figures? Now. Yeah. Queen Street, Montana, MOS? Negative K, that's 482. That's 110710.
Drop your weapon!
Just shooting Camby in the corner. Hands up.
This is the police. We have you surrounded.
Multiple officers and civilians were killed in the span of minutes. For many in Los Santos, this marked the first recorded deployment of a hovering, weaponized platform later identified as the Oppressor. Until that day, the concept of a single suspect possessing aerial mobility, countermeasure flares, and guided munitions in an urban environment had largely been theoretical. After April 16th, it was no longer theory, it was precedent. In the months that followed, the Los Santos Police Department was forced to adapt to a threat profile it had never trained for. Patrol doctrine was revised. Airspace response protocols were implemented. Units were briefed on countermeasure recognition and rapid dispersion tactics when encountering unidentified aerial platforms. What was once considered an anomaly became an operational category of its own. The introduction of the Oppressor fundamentally altered how officers approach high-risk pursuits within the city. But to understand how this incident unfolded, investigators had to go back before the shootings, before the chase, before the scrapyard. Residential doorbell and CCTV footage later revealed the suspect had been placing false emergency calls in the hours before the shooting. This call drew officers to his location, so he could easily follow them and commit the sinful act he had planned to do.
911, what is the address of your emergency?
178 2nd Avenue North.
178 2nd Avenue North?
Yes, but they're in the building.
Okay.
Two officers responded but located no visible threat. The call was cleared within minutes. However, dashcam footage from their patrol vehicle tells a different story. As the officers depart the area, a vehicle matching the suspects can be seen pulling out moments later, maintaining distance, mirroring turns, and following the unit through multiple intersections. Dashcam footage shows the suspect vehicle positioned directly behind the patrol unit before abruptly turning into a narrow alleyway while sounding the horn and calling for help. Interpreting an ambush or active assault, the officers do not follow directly. Instead, they take the next right, entering the alley from the opposite end to contain the scene. What followed would send shockwaves through the department and mark a turning point in how 911 calls were assessed across Los Santos.
All units head over there. 82nd and Drexel 10-1, shots fired at the police. All units 62nd and Drexel, shots fired at the police.
Shots fired 147 Maple Street. Requesting backup.
Within seconds of entering the alley, both officers were fatally stabbed. Officer Michael Alvarez, 32, and Officer Daniel Mercer, 41, were pronounced deceased at the scene. Investigators later confirmed the suspect removed Officer Mercer's department-issued badge and baton before fleeing the area. A responding officer that arrived moments later, discovering the two fallen officers, is the same officer that later this same evening came to face with the suspect before fatally getting shot outside Mission Row Station. This explains why the officers seem to start shooting almost on instinct. This never-before-seen footage shows the suspect using the stolen police badge to conduct fraudulent traffic stops within hours of the alley shooting. In multiple instances, drivers can be seen complying before their vehicles are taken, except this last one where the suspect resulted to brutally beating 64-year-old Danny Martez into critical condition. As the investigation widened, detectives uncovered a pattern stretching back nearly 2 months. The suspect had been systematically stealing vehicles across Los Santos using varying tactics: false emergencies, impersonation, staged breakdowns. Forensic analysis later suggested many of the stolen vehicles were not resold intact. Parts were removed, components repurposed. Authorities now believe the suspect was assembling a highly modified aerial platform oppressor over time, piece by piece. The vehicle used during the scrapyard incident appears to have required one final acquisition. The car taken that night may have provided the remaining components necessary to complete the build. Why the suspect escalated to murdering officers to obtain a badge remains a central question. Investigators have speculated the act may have been a deliberate escalation. a self-imposed challenge by an individual growing increasingly emboldened. Investigators have yet to determine where the suspect acquired the submachine gun used in the attacks. However, authorities acknowledge that Los Santos has an established underground weapons market, including the mobile black market supplier, commonly referred to as the gun van. Recovered security cameras from the scrapyard later revealed the suspect assembling what appears to be the aerial platform used in the final confrontation. Footage shows mechanical work taking place over several nights. In one clip, a passerby can be heard reacting to gunfire. That passerby recorded a short cell phone video appearing to show the suspect test firing a weapon near the scrapyard. Records indicate the video was submitted to authorities 4 days prior to the incident. No immediate follow-up was documented. Investigators have since acknowledged that earlier intervention may have altered the outcome. The final piece of CCTV evidence captures the suspect moments before the fatal pursuit. It is the last confirmed ground-level sighting before the escalation that followed. As of this recording, the suspect has not been identified or apprehended. The aerial vehicle, later identified as the Oppressor, was recovered 2 months after the incident in a nearby sewage tunnel, heavily damaged and riddled with bullet impacts, consistent with the scrapyard exchange. Questions remain regarding how the suspect withstood sustained gunfire during multiple encounters. No conclusive explanation has been released. The owner of the scrapyard, Ned Polansk, was reported missing shortly after the incident and has not been located. The case remains open. If you found this case breakdown informative, consider subscribing for future in-depth incident reports from across Los Santos. My name's Tyler, a journalist for the LazerSpart network, and this has been your incident briefing. Also, if you have any crime story that you want us to cover, leave us a comment below.